welcome to Gotta Love Linda. I'm back again, and today is Monday, so we are starting a very new thing called Mental Health Mondays with me, Gotta Love Linda. The reason why I wanted to do this is purely because I've had a lot of mental health stuff go on in my life over the years, especially as an adult. And I've also worked as a mental health support worker, so I thought that I would have quite a lot that I could share with others. And I'm going to do some extra research and stuff as well to supplement my knowledge. But most of what I talk about on this particular Mental Health Mondays will be just from my own experiences. And I really, really hope and pray that whoever listens to this will, especially if you're struggling with mental health stuff, that you will not feel alone, because, you know, every single person has mental health. It's just whether it's good mental health or not so good mental health. And if it's not so good, then I would really like to offer you some help and ideas and strategies and support. And I actually am going to share my mental health story in a sec. But before I do that, I just want you to know that Yes, I have been a mental health support worker in a professional role, but I'm not a medical person. I don't have any degrees. I don't have any I haven't gone to uni for medical or medicine or psychology or anything. So this is purely as a layman and layperson. And yeah, it's mostly just going to be from my own experiences and the experiences of my friends and family, and things that I have found helpful and things that I haven't found helpful. I have a fly bugging me. So yeah, I just hope that you can find some of this information useful. Okay, so now that I've got a little disclaimer out of the way, I think I'll share with you my mental health story. So I was fairly healthy right up until I was about 16. Down the track further, I'll start again. So when I was 21, I had been seeing a counsellor for a little while, and there were lots of issues there to do with me and my foster parents. And the counsellor that I was seeing was from my church, and we had arranged to have an appointment with her and my foster parents to try and fix up a really broken relationship. I don't know what I had ever done to them, but I knew that they just were not happy with me. They didn't want to know me. It was just horrible for me. And I think what made it so much harder is that they always said growing up, because we lived with them since we were 5 years onwards, that even though officially they were not our parents after the age of 18, they always said that we'll be your parents for as long as you want us to be. And so Mike and I were always like, well, good, we'll have you forever. You know, and I used to dream about when they were old and I'd be helping them, you know, to kind of repay them for all the stuff that they did to look after us as kids. And, you know, I mean, they were the first people to give us stability and security, and the biggest thing for me is that they gave us God. And I always wanted and looked forward to being that daughter that could give back to them in their old age. Unfortunately, that's not what's happened. So anyway, we had this appointment, and I remember sitting there crying my eyes out. And I just remember saying, look, I know I've disappointed you, and I'm really sorry. I don't know how I've disappointed you, but I know I have. And I just want you to know that I love you, and I always will. And then I stopped, and I was, of course, blubbering a bit. And the counsellor actually just looked at them, and she said, do you have anything you want to say in reply? And my foster mother, without even pausing, she just blurted out, well, we don't love her. We haven't loved her for a long time. And the shock, I just felt like I had been winded. And I raced outside, and I was an absolute mess. Like, you know, your life is already so unstable when you've been in and out of homes. And yeah, we had lived with them since we were 5, but we still had the instability like before then. And, you know, you live with them from the age of 5 right through to the age of 19, when they basically tell you that if you don't leave, they're going to have a divorce because of you. Still don't understand why. I just think that was a good reason for her to get rid of me. But to be told that they haven't loved you for a long time, like, how long is a long time? A few weeks, a few months, a few years? Like, I don't know. Anyway, I won't go into any more about them, but that particular day triggered off the most intense depression of my life. What followed then was 5 years of just utter deep depression. I ended up getting put on medication, and the very first medication they put me on was, the GP put me on, was Arapax, which was an antidepressant. Within 2 weeks of starting that, I was cutting myself. So you probably can't tell that easily. Hang on. Hang on, I'll move this. You can see there, I've got, yeah. I've definitely been someone who has hurt themselves a lot. Whoops, sorry, trying to get that. Yeah, I've definitely been someone who has really put her body through the ringer. Yeah, I will share more about self-injury. I'm actually going to share a lot more about self-injury, or what some people call self-harm, because it was such a huge part of my mental health journey. I do want to share a lot about it and how I overcame it, because I think it's really important for people to know that you can overcome the whole thing of hurting yourself. But I also want to talk about self-injury as an addiction, because at one point it stopped becoming a coping mechanism for me and it did become an addiction. So that's still coming in future videos. Thankfully though, I don't do it anymore. And yeah, but those 5 years were just absolute hell. I attempted suicide a number of times, apart from the cutting, and I was in such a dark place. I had 15 admissions into a psych ward at the time, over the course of 5 years, that is. And yeah, it was just not a good place for me to be in. Yeah, it was just so black. Everything, it was just dark as dark. And then one day I decided that I would just stop cutting, and like that, I stopped. I don't know how I managed it. Well, I do kind of. But again, that's for another time, that story. So then a month later, I was at a conference at my church, and God did one of those miraculous healings on me that you hear about. And in the space of one weekend, I fell down, what some people call slaying in the Holy Spirit, or, you know, I just fell in that whole spiritual thing where God really just touched me. And I just knew in my heart that I was healed. And I mean, it happened 7 times in one weekend. When each time I was prayed for, I was like, bam, on the ground. And it was very scary and weird for me, because it's not something that I've grown up with. But it happened, and I just knew that God had healed me. And I asked my pastor, who is like a brother to me, I said, how do you know when God's healed you of a mental illness? I mean, it's easy when he heals you of something physical, you can test it. And he just said, well, again, you just got to test it. You just got to see, you know, how you go over the next few days. And anyway, with the approval of my psychiatrist, I went off all my meds cold turkey. Bad move. Don't ever do that. Oh my gosh, I got so sick from withdrawals for 2 weeks. It was hell, but it was worth it. And I stayed off them. I had a deal with him that the moment he told me that I needed to go back on them, I would. And I lasted 16 months without any medication. And he said to me later, you know, I really thought you would last tops 2 weeks. So he was quite impressed. Now, the reason why I had to go back on medication was that it turns out I didn't have depression, I had bipolar. Because I was getting really high, like really manic. And then he and I kind of traced back over the course of my life, like when did, like I've still got friends from when I was a kid, and I asked them, when did you notice me sort of changing in my behaviour and stuff? And they've all said around 16 years old. And I just got really loud, really obnoxious. I didn't think I was. I thought it was just fun and silly. But yeah, I look back now and I go, oh, it's so embarrassing. I was boy crazy, and I was everything crazy and just in your face. And I still remember walking into church one afternoon before band practice, and not that I was in the band, but I used to do the PowerPoint, and so I used to go along to the band practices, and I had all my friends in those bands anyway, so it was just another chance to hang out. And there was this one time when I walked in the church door and there were two guys there who were in the band, and one of them just went like this. He just went, oh, she's here. And that really shocked me. And that was a real wake-up call to me. I was like, oh my gosh, like, do they really see me that crazy? That, like, I think it's not that I was crazy. It's just that I was so loud and just so in your face. And that's pretty embarrassing, to be honest, when I think about now. Because I was always the life of the party. And I was that girl who I'd flip from group to group to group. Like, I remember my friend and I would always go down to Adelaide for the once a month youth church services. And afterwards, when you sit there and you talk to people, I'd be like jumping from this group to that group to this group to that group. And I just had friends in every single group. And yeah, I just could never stay in one spot for more than 2 seconds. And even these days, like, I have to fidget. I'm sitting here and I'm twirling a candle as I talk to you because, oh, they smell so good. I wish you could smell them. They're party light, and it's rhubarb and something. It's so yummy. Anyway, yeah, like, I do get distracted a lot. I don't sleep much because my brain doesn't shut off. So when God healed me, I felt in my heart that he said, you will never have depression like this again. And I think it's kind of funny that, okay, yeah, he was right, but I do get manic now. So I have to be on medication for that. So I go through periods where I am just, I'm a lot more mellow. The older I get, the quieter I get. And I observe so much more these days. And gee, sometimes I think if people only knew what I observe and I don't say. But that's another thing. If people only knew what was in my head that I didn't say, wow, they would be stunned, because far out. I only talk like maybe a quarter of what's actually in my head and what I could say. So maybe in a way it's kind of lucky that I don't talk as much as I used to, which I know for those of you who know me will be a shock because I'm a talker. I'm a chatterbox. Anyway. So yeah, and in the last 5 years, 6, 7, I have had a few periods where I've really struggled mentally, and it's actually mostly around moving house. And I had a couple of real estate agents who were absolutely horrible, and I ended up with PTSD because of it. And well, that's what the mental health worker diagnosed me as. Well, he didn't diagnose me. He suspected that that's what's happened. And so, yeah, I hate moving house. And, yeah, so generally, apart from that, I've actually been really well. And, in fact, I've been too well. I've tried to, every now and again, get in to see a mental health worker because I don't see a psychiatrist anymore, because my psychiatrist that I've had like for a long time, I've only ever had 2, and the second one, who was one of the best in the state, is now a lecturer. So he stopped practicing. And yeah, and so if I ever want to now, I have to go through the public system, and they just refuse to see me. They say, no, she's too well. And the housing that I'm in is mental health housing through Housing SA. And they've had to change the package because part of the deal of living here was that I have a mental health worker. But when the mental health workers won't engage with me because they say I'm too healthy, like, wouldn't you think that they would want to actually keep just, you know, even if it was quarterly, have a every 3 months have an appointment just to make sure things are still going well. And, you know, every now and again I do feel like I need it, but I think there's no point because they will refuse to see me anyway. So yeah, the mental health system has a lot to be desired, and I think that, you know, one appointment 4 times a year is not too much to ask to keep somebody on that good role that they're on. Oh well, nothing much I can do about that. So anyway, that's basically my mental health journey, and I will share heaps more details over the next however long it takes to share my full-on story. But I'm gonna share it as I talk about things. So you basically have the main part. Oh, I didn't really tell you that I've also got obsessive compulsive disorder. That was another thing I got diagnosed with, and I do have a dissociative disorder. So I don't have DID, which is the new name for multiple personalities, which DID stands for dissociative identity disorder. So I don't have that, but my psychiatrist said that I have a dissociative disorder and that he believes I'm partially dissociated all the time. And I do believe him to a point because I don't have many memories. The only memories I have are associated with extremely strong emotions. And I asked him once, is that why I can remember those things? And he's like, well, partly, but it's also partly because I think your brain has dissociated. Like, even, you know, all day, every day, your brain, there's a little part of your brain that just runs away and hides. So it's interesting, that's for sure, and I find it fascinating. But that's me. And so often, like, if you talk to me, I often will just not remember what you said. And it's not that I say that it's a memory problem, but it's actually not. It's this dissociative disorder. But not a lot of people understand dissociation, so I'll have to make a video about that too. So yeah, if there are any things that you do want to hear about from my perspective, like any mental health topic at all, if I don't know about it, I'll research it and form an opinion and then tell you. So leave a comment below. I would love to hear what your ideas are that you would like me to share with. And yeah, anyway, so that's basically my mental health. So I have bipolar, dissociative disorder, OCD. They're all relatively under control. I used to hallucinate sometimes, but my doctor said I actually had more, what they call it? They're not so much hallucinations, but illusions. So I did hallucinate as well sometimes, and that was spiders. My psychologist once told me, you always hallucinate the thing you most fear, and for me that is spiders. And yeah, that was bad because sometimes they were real and sometimes they weren't. So I'd have to sit there and go, is it real, is it real, is it real? And my friends would have to say yes or no. And you know, if I know that they're not real, then I'm okay with it, but it's not knowing if they're real or not when there's such a huge fear. Anyway, I thought I was saying something else too. I don't know. My OCD is fairly well under control, but again, I'll make a video about that. And yeah, so I will probably make a video even just about my bipolar again. This is just a general overview. And I think I'm dribbling now, so I might go. But yeah, I'd love to hear your mental health stories. And I'd love to hear if you have ideas that you would like I said before, that you would like to hear from my point of view. Feel free to write them down below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe and click the notification bell if you haven't done that already. And hopefully you'll be hearing about mental health stuff from me every single Monday on Mental Health Monday. All right, I hope you have a lovely week, and I will talk to you next Monday. Okay, see ya.